We'll start, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our latest edition of Talkdesk Talks. And he hasn't even been here a month yet. And we got Munil Shah, our new Chief Technology Officer. I was sure to jump on this as soon as I knew he was coming, because this is an exciting time for us to have him here. So certainly wanted to introduce him to the company. He was in Portugal last week, so got to meet, I'm sure, a fair amount of you who are on this call, and also did an all hands last week for the folks in Portugal on his team. But certainly wanted to not keep him a secret. So wanted to welcome him to the company and to all of us. So Munil, welcome.
Thank you so much. I have to say that I have been just, really inspired by the warmth that everyone has extended to me. It's been super welcoming from all departments, and I got to be in Portugal last week for the first time in my life, and that was wonderful. And I got to meet a lot of the folks in Porto and Lisbon, and I got to do a city tour of Lisbon last week.
I heard that you were on a tuk-tuk.
We were 6 of us in a tuk-tuk. We got really cozy. That was awesome.
I heard that. I did that. I got to go to Portugal for the first time last year also, and it was magical, and I'm looking for any excuse to get back. But I did the tuk-tuk as well. It's just a great way to see the city. So in your grand total of what, 2 weeks and 2 days?
Well,
right?
This is my 4th week.
Okay, so 3 weeks and 2 days. What is something that's surprised you about Talkdesk that maybe you didn't learn during the interview process, or, is there something that sort of was like, oh, I didn't expect that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously through the interview process, you go through talking to key leaders and learning about the company, the opportunity, the product. And, I came here because I enjoyed, talking to the leaders. The chemistry and the connection with the leadership team is super important.
Yeah.
And I believed in the mission, and I believed in the space we are in. So that's why I'm here. But having been here just a few weeks and learning about the product, and the opportunity in front of us, I think the thing that surprised me the most is I underestimated the opportunity we have in front of us, honestly. I think, I mentioned in my introductory video is that I always look for inflection points in the industry when I'm looking for a change. And I believe Gen AI, or AI in general, is a huge inflection point. And it's impacting many industries, of course. But I didn't realize how big of a transformative change this is going to be in the contact center. Yeah. And us being in the driving seat, in the front row seat, is fantastic. I think this is I'm more bullish about our opportunity now than I was when I accepted their offer letter. That's what I would say is surprising the most.
That is amazing to hear in just your short time. Not surprising for those of us who have been here, but wow, what a great thing to hear. So here's a question I have for you. And as you know, as I explained to Munil, that I sort of jump around and follow you, but I want to talk to you sort of about what drew you to Talkdesk, and just overall. And, you were at Microsoft for a really long time. So I sort of want to bucket it in terms of sort of, how do you find your next opportunities? What excites you? What do you look for? So sort of, you were at Microsoft for 20 years, which is a long time, right? Especially nowadays, right? It's a very long time to stay at a company. And so I want to hear a little bit more from you about the opportunities that you looked for there, sort of broadly, did they come to you? Did you have a plan? Did you map out a plan? Did things land in your lap? Just sort of because you're here now and you're the Chief Technology Officer. And so how did that all happen?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, I'd be lying to you if I said when I came out of college, I had this perfect plan in my head. Obviously, I didn't. After working for AT&T Bell Labs for a year, I joined Microsoft. But now, looking back the last 30 years, I can see there is a pattern in the way I think and the way I make career changes, that I can clearly say that that's how my brain works. And that is so even though I was at Microsoft for 20 years, I actually deliberately made career moves inside Microsoft.
Okay.
And almost every time when nobody was expecting. In other words, I'm in a role, I'm doing great, I'm having a great set of opportunities, and I'm having big impact. But then I make a change. And what drives that? What drives that change? It's kind of what I described in my introductory video. Is that I get inspired by inflection points in the industry.
Okay.
I see where the puck is going, where the software is going. And if I am, and I get most uncomfortable when I am most comfortable in the job, if that makes sense. So when, I like new challenges. I like to build new connections. One of the reasons I believe I have a pretty decent network is because I worked in different departments at Microsoft, and so I think you learn a lot when you work with different people. Different people challenge you in different way. You learn a lot about yourself. That what you think you were good at in the previous role doing X may not actually work in this new role doing the same thing. So you have to unlearn something. You have to learn something new. So that's really what drives me. And when I look for a change, obviously I'm looking for the people I get to work with. That's the most important thing. The cultural fit is super important. It may seem like a cliche, but that is very important, particularly in any role actually, but in senior role in particular. I look for the opportunity for impact. Is there a real meaningful opportunity for impact? As you say, I've worked on products that have gone on to become huge commercial success in the market: Windows NT, Bing, Azure, UiPath. And these products are used by millions of people around the world. So I like to be in a space where there is huge opportunity for impact. I get to work with fantastic people, and I believe that it is going to grow me personally. In terms of I'm going to learn some new skills, I'm going to build some new network, I'm going to discover new aspects about me that I haven't discovered before. So that's really what the ingredients I look for every few years. And now looking back, that's been very consistent. And those people who were in the part of the interview loop, I talked to a lot of people here at Talkdesk. They'll probably say that I said the same thing when I was looking for a change here at Talkdesk.
So how did you get that confidence in yourself to do that, though? I mean, to challenge yourself and to do something totally different takes a lot of confidence. So is that something that you learned from your family? Is it something you learned from mentors or other leaders that you had? Like, how did that become part of sort of who you are?
That's I have mentors in my family. I'm super influenced by both my mom and dad, and in different ways. My siblings also, and my faith and all of that. But also coming into Microsoft, I was lucky to land my first role working for what I would describe as the most elite team at Microsoft. This is a team that Bill Gates assembled personally to build the next operating system at that time, and recruited some of the top engineers from digital. And these are people with 20, 30 years of experience in the industry. And the first time they started recruiting college hires, and I was there as a college hire, very junior engineer, and I learned my engineering chops, and they had very, very high bar. The team had extremely high bar. And I came to work every day feeling like I'm failing in my job, every day feeling I'm failing, because I was just surrounded by people who were just so brilliant.
Yeah.
And they were so good at the craft of writing code. And so I think, but having gone through that experience, I felt that as long as you focus on just building good habits in the work and not focus on the outcome too much, it's the habits that carries you forward. And so what gives me confidence is my habits. That hey, I think I don't come to Talkdesk with the preconceived notion that hey, we're gonna have a fantastic IPO, or we are gonna be a commercially successful #1 leader, etc. Absolutely, I have those ambitions for us as a company, but that's not what I focus on. I focus on my habits. What is it that day to day, what can we do in the engineering to make our engineering organization best class, world class, best in the industry? What can we do to make our engineers really their brilliance shine every single day? They come to work and their brilliance shine. So there are a set of things I've learned over the years in running product and engineering organizations, and what I call just good habits and discipline. I just focus on those and let the outcomes be what they are. And generally, they've turned out to be good outcomes over the years.
Well, I want to ask you that. Has there ever been a decision that you made or a job that you moved to that when looking back or at the time you said that wasn't the right move? And if so, how did you correct it?
Well, to be honest, pretty much every job, maybe this one is the one where probably I'm feeling a bit more comfortable than others, but every job changes I've taken, I felt very, very uncomfortable early on. I can tell you, like my last job change at UiPath, when I came, I had worked at Microsoft for many years and gotten used to the comfortable the machinery that Microsoft provides, right? Fantastic buildings and recruiting and HR and all these processes and systems, and you just go to work and do your work. And imagine the scenario: I come to UiPath. I'm the first hire for UiPath in Microsoft in US, and it was me and a recruiter in a small office. This is my home office, but in a small office like this, we work, and we are like, okay, start now. And I've never been in a situation like that before. Right. And for the first 3 months, every day I came to work thinking, what the hell did I do? I think this was the biggest mistake I made. But one of the advice that I got from, we all have mentors. And I had, before joining UiPath, I had talked to my mentors, and particularly the mentors who've been entrepreneurs, who've been in the startup. And one of them who had been at Microsoft, done several startups, he told me that, Munil, you're going to join this job. Every day you're going to come home and you're going to be very frustrated. And you're going to be like, hey, what did I do? There's so much to be done. It's so challenging. So what you have to do is you have to stand in front of a mirror, look in the mirror and ask the question, who is going to fix this problem? And you'll find the answer. And that was a very clever way of saying, you don't become the victim, become the player. And I think that, it seems like trivial tip, but it actually worked wonders for me, because I would come home frustrated and I'll look myself and say, but yeah, this is a small company. Things are not going to be like what they were at Microsoft. You just have to take charge and embrace and fix it. And so Jennifer would remember when I started recruiting at UiPath, I would tell people that, hey, you want to work in a garage? You want to be really scrappy? I've come here to sweep the floor if needed. That's the mindset we need. So you just embrace what you got, and that was an exciting, way to actually sell UiPath to the future candidates or future prospects.
Yeah. So what made you, after that, turn to Talkdesk? What made you say, okay, I'm ready for another change. I'm ready for another challenge. And what made Talkdesk the winner?
Yeah. So again, there is a theme that has emerged in my career, is that it turns out, and it's not like I'm waiting for a clock, but it turns out that I tend to look for a change, or I try to, my mind makes up this decision to make a change at around 5 to 6 years mark. And so I was at UiPath for 5.5 years, and I believe, if I remember correctly, Talkdesk reached out to me. It might have been Donna or someone, and I learned the story about Talkdesk. Yeah, I got a somewhat similar story as UiPath. UiPath was born in Romania. The founder was Romanian, who started there, and for many years didn't really go anywhere, but then found its success, and then it was on a rocket ship growth, and then had big ambitions. And I kind of saw something similar. I always love founder-led companies because they are deeply invested. So that was one. I was looking at other opportunities. Honestly, opportunities much bigger in terms of the scope and the size, and I asked myself what I enjoyed most about UiPath after having worked in a big company like Microsoft and having even bigger teams, is that it's not the size and the company size or my team size or that matters. It's sort of the opportunity for impact. And I truly believe that that I think this is a The space is very interesting. It's very different than what I've done in the past. It's I believe it's a transformative space in terms of what's going to happen with AI. And I believe that I will have fun having a big impact here.
So we think you will too. We work really hard, but we do have fun. So when you and I are sitting here a year from now on your first year anniversary, what will success look like for you? What will allow you to look back over the past year and say, yes?
Yeah. Few things I would say, first and foremost, from personal standpoint, I would like to earn the trust of the team and the leadership and customers. As some of you know, we had a major outage last week, and we decided to send an email to all the impacted customers signed by me. So I put myself out in front of customers. So earning trust across all the constituents, my team, product and engineering, other functions, leadership, board, customers, investors. Earning trust is super important. And that comes with a lot of hard work across many dimensions.
Sure.
But then again, I think we can talk about commercial success and other milestones that we have in the company, but I don't focus on those goals. I would like to see engineering be the world-class organization where top engineers all around the world, when they look for a change, they have Talkdesk on their list of potential companies to hire. I don't know if you guys know, but I joined UiPath, and in 3 years, we were number one in the Comparably survey of the best engineering organization. And we were ahead of even the companies like Google and Microsoft. And so, I mean, that's the kind of aspiration I have in terms of building a great organization. And then in terms of core engineering, architecture, the way we execute, I like us to be 10x better than our peers. Not just our competitors. Take any peer in the industry. Our engineers they come to work and they can be 10x more productive. I think that needs to be a competitive differentiator. Clearly, strategy and the way we do go to market and the way we focus on customer, all these things are important. But an engineering organization, the way we make a difference in the company is that our engineers are 10x more productive. They have this joy of writing code. Writing code is just a small part of engineer's job. It's actually getting it out in front of customer takes a lot of work. And usually that's where a lot of the friction is. You can't get your code into the, I'm getting a little bit technical, but it's basically all the nitty-gritty work that you have to do to get the code from your laptop all the way back into production in front of customers to actually use it. It is painstaking work. There are lots of moving pieces involved, and usually there is a lot of friction there. Or there could just be a friction in people coming to work, their commute, their remote working, and in all these little things that we have to look at and see that our engineers are more productive and more capable than 10x more than the peers. So that's another hallmark of a great organization that I'd like to focus on.
I love that. And I think I'm going to switch topics, but draw a line, to connect them. As part of that will be leadership. It'll be your leadership. It'll be your team's leadership. And I don't just mean your people leaders, right? When you're saying you want them to be leaders in the engineering world, that's everybody. It's not just people who manage teams. It's everybody who turns on their computer every day to come to work, right? So first of all, what is your leadership style? How do you lead to inspire your teams? And then what do you expect from your leaders? Be they people leaders or, as I said, just leaders in this world. What do you expect from them?
Yeah, I think this question can be answered in different ways. There is what my leadership style is, and I'll talk a little bit about that in the all ends for the engineering, but I'll share a little bit more. What I get inspired when I see in others, the slightly different things. I work for some of the best leaders at Microsoft. I got to work for Satya Nadella, who's the CEO. I was his direct report for a couple of years, who I believe is just an incredible leader. And I can share about sort of what I saw in him. But my leadership style, I kind of shared with the team. And again, it's based on what I consider to be my strength is I focus. So first of all, at the foundation, I come to work with the service mindset. My role is complete overhead in the company. If I'm not coming to work, removing roadblocks, supporting my team, cheering their great work, making sure that they get to do their great work, coming to the company every single day. So that's the service mindset I take. That's my job, is to service my team. But then I talk about three pillars. What I focus on is ensure there is strategic alignment. What I mean by that is that there is a clear understanding in the organization of what success looks like, what path to winning looks like, what our mission is, what our goals are. Give everybody tremendous autonomy to execute, to take decisions, but also have an alignment at the organization level so that everybody is not just running around in random direction. So that's strategic alignment. Second is what I call promote friction-free execution. We talked about engineers coming to work, writing piece of code, getting out in front of customer. That entire cycle of idea to data, if you will, from customer perspective, that entire cycle needs to be extremely efficient, like a well-oiled machine. And every place where there is friction, we got to focus on as a team and remove that friction. And that goes even with decision making. If a decision has to go up and down, sideways constantly, that is a lot of friction. We want people to be able to make decisions at their level and only bubble up the decisions that really need to bubble up or go sideways. And third is invest in people. I believe that A+ people like to work with A+ people, and it is creating a culture of just rewarding great work, having fun, collaboration. That sort of thing. So that's really the three things I focus on. And again, it's all about habits. It's not about the goals. Just keep doing this over and over, and the right outcomes happen is what I believe.
So talk about the leader from Microsoft that you mentioned. What made him stand out to you as someone who you thought, okay, I'm going to look at what he does and I'm going to take some of that and practice it and make it a habit of mine?
Yeah. I would say I saw three things. Satya is a very different kind of a leader. Everybody is different, and so I wouldn't mimic his style with my style. But what I saw in him that is very good at, one is the building trust. And again, I mentioned that building trust up and down the organization. But he's not just build trust inside Microsoft. He's a beloved leader inside Microsoft. But he's built trust with customers. He's built trust with shareholders. He's built trust with board and even competitors and companies that Microsoft used to compete with. Partners have a lot more. Remember the evil Microsoft of the bygone era. He's built trust with the customers, with the partners. So that is a real skill. Second thing is what I would say is that hire and develop the best. I think that he really, of course, he actually offered me 3 times at Microsoft, so I'd say he hires the best. But no, I'm joking. But truly, he does. He is surrounded by some of the best leaders at Microsoft, and he's really so that's a skill. But then not just hiring; it's really developing those leaders in the company. And then the third thing is great leaders. They think big. They don't think small. They don't think what's happening next week or next month. They have this ability to think big that others in the room are not. They are probably in the weeds, but they think something really big, and they're right a lot. Thinking big alone is not good enough. You can think big, but if you're wrong all the time, that doesn't help. So thinking big and being right a lot. You're not right all the times, but being right most of the times. I think that's and look at all the bets he's made, and they paid off. So those are the 3 things I would call out.
So one of the things you talked about and that you liked to do is you liked to learn. So that sort of you seem like you're sort of a student and that you're curious and that has led you to some other opportunities. So one of the questions I have for you is, how has that become part of your practice? Why is learning so important? And how do you also instill that in your teams so they can always be learning, growing, developing, whether it's about a piece of code or whether it's actually about themselves. How do you bring that to your teams?
Yeah. I mentioned this phrase, I think, in the all hands last week, in one of the principles about engineering. I said something like learn continuously, shamelessly. And I truly believe in that. I think, I think about the software I wrote, I'm dating myself, but, early days, it's probably no longer relevant in the way the software is written today. Now with the advent of Chat GPT and other tools that you have available now. So I think, whatever your mechanism is for learning, I read a lot. I read books. I listen to podcasts. I would, listen to, presentations or YouTube videos or, whatever interesting I can find. Of course, you need a pretty good system for deciding what you get to read, because the information overload is a real thing. And you will notice I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'll ask questions. They may seem dumb questions at times. They may seem naive questions at times, but that's how I learn. And so be warned, I may come and ask questions to anybody and anywhere. And I may ask question again, but why are we doing that? But why are we doing that? But why are we doing that? And that's because I'm very curious about finding the sort of why behind what we do, and it can potentially get annoying at times, so just be warned. But and then when it comes to technology keeps changing, and this epiphany I have about, oh, I think I need to do something different. It is about that. One of the things that we did, and we'll probably explore here in my previous role, is that we do a deliberate rotation program in the engineering organization, and there is a very fun way we do it, and we don't have enough time to explain it here, but that has proven to be very valuable for the engineer to just go and do different type of work inside the company, but do different type of work, and there is a way I like to do it, and we'll talk about it at another time. Yeah.
All right, but I'm just going to ask you some very brief questions, because I already know if someone's coming into HR from your team, who I want. So if Philippe Lima's on this call, he can come work on my team. But I'm assuming you mean within engineering. But again, you don't have to talk about but talk about why that's important to be learning different roles, because I think that's huge. I have personally done it. We've got a lot of folks on this call that have done it. We encourage that to talk to us, but talk about why that's so important for someone.
I think it just opens up your perspective. I think we get very closed-minded. If we keep working in the same area, working with the same people, doing the same things over and over, why they get hard, and we our biases get solidified. And so I think it's always a good idea to sort of constantly challenge your assumptions, have strong point of view, but be open-minded at the same time. So I think that's why it's important.
So I want to sort of stick with this idea, not of your rotation, but about sort of developing our leaders. And again, I don't just mean people leaders, our leaders of the future, because we all can be leaders. What advice do you have for more junior people starting out in their career about how do you build your network? How do you find a mentor? How do you think about your new opportunities? What would you say to someone who's fairly new in their career around that?
Yeah, look for, so if you are a software engineer, new to either software engineering or new to the company, look for the senior engineers in the organization, and look for how they write code, how they make design decisions. Find out opportunities to hang out with them, to either socially or just in the workplace, and even talk to your managers to see if you can identify someone in the team who's a more senior engineer who can be your mentor. When somebody senior gives you feedback on your code or design, take that in good spirit. Like, hey, this is someone who's got a lot of experience. So I think always have I've always had mentors in my life. outside of my management chain. And the mentors could be people who are in the same profession, or it could be just friends who've done well in different aspects, and not just technical aspects. Every job change I've made, I've always discussed with multiple mentors before making that change. And they always give me a very different perspective. Like, okay, have you thought about this? Or I think you're making the right call. Explain to me why you're making this call. And then they can validate my thinking. And some of these mentors now know me. And so that's been very helpful. And the same thing happened this time. As I mentioned, there were other opportunities I was considering, and they just help me validate that, this seems like the right thing for what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So having mentors is important.
Just so switching topics a little bit, the ever famous work-life balance that we all strive for, and how do you, because I know, and again, I know because I went to your all hands, and I want, you have a very rich life outside of work. You have family, you have interests, you have hobbies. How do you find time for all of that, but yet still stay very obviously focused on your career?
Yeah, I mean, as some of you probably noticed, I do have several hobbies. I'm not good at anything, but I like to do lots of different things. And we live here in Seattle area. Those of you who are familiar with Pacific Northwest, we are surrounded by mountains, rivers, snow, great trails, greenery. It's just a beautiful outdoor, just like Portugal in many ways, not as sunny, but in all other ways. And so that has, from the beginning, and we've been living, my wife and I both been living here for some time now. So we've gotten quite used to just being outdoors whenever we can get an opportunity. And we are not, people say, oh, but in Seattle it rains, and we are not bothered by rain. Even if it's rain, we'll go hiking or we go biking or something. So usually, weekends are like that with family. With now my kids are in college, but my wife and I would still go do that. I work hard, and I don't apologize for working hard, but I do have a system for remaining fairly efficient through time is one thing we all learn is that money can buy everything except time, or money can buy many things except time, and so you have to get very efficient with what you do. For good or bad, for example, I am not on any social media other than LinkedIn, where I have to post for recruiting great talent for Talkdesk. So
Yeah.
that's not where I spend my time, and it's not something that I enjoy very much. And so, but I will make priority. So I think it's also focusing on big rocks. I do the same thing at work. Like, what are the big rocks? What are the big things I need to focus on? Get that out of the way, then focus on the small things. Same thing with the personal life. What are the big things I need to do? I need to call my parents. They live in India. They are aging. Okay, I need to call my friends. I need to call my siblings. Can I do that while I'm actually going for a run, or can I, walking? So how do I optimize that thing? I like to listen to podcasts. Again, that I can do it while I'm on a treadmill or I'm running. So there are things you can multitask at times. And then when I'm offline and over the weekend, or that's where I try to get a lot of my hobbies. Or in the evening, usually there is few hours in the evening where I try to squeeze in my hobbies or exercise, things like that.
Yeah.
Not
So-
always possible, but I try to. Yeah.
What podcasts do you listen? Do you listen to podcasts about work related issues, or do you listen to podcasts just to completely clear your mind and listen to some fun?
On my Spotify, I've got a long list, and I have lots of different. I'm not again expert in anything, but I have lots of interest. I like I love finance a lot, and we can talk a little bit about sort of my if I was not software engineer, I'd probably be over there. But
I was going to ask you that.
I love politics. I love finance. I love technology. I love sort of investments and entrepreneurship. I love health. It's a lot of health related topics. Just science of healthy living. There's this. I have lots of different interests, and so just depends on what mood I'm in. I love music. So there's a lot of different things I listen to. It's not one particular thing. It's just what the day inspires me. Yeah.
So one of my questions was going to be, if you were not doing this, what would you be doing? And I think you just hinted at something that you might.
Yeah, it's funny that so we have three siblings, and my dad is a what we call a CPA or CA in basically an accountant.
Yep.
And growing up, he always thought that kids should become like him, and we should all become accountants. And my elder brother, he went on to become an engineer. And when I chose engineering, my dad was worried that, hey, maybe I won't get a job as an engineer. As a computer science graduate, he was genuinely worried about that. But leaving that aside, like from the very beginning, from the early age, he was a big influence on me in introducing me to sort of just the finance concept, and I got really enamored with that. So by the time I was in high school, coming out of high school, I had become basically a financial advisor to wealthy clients, and I had acquired what you call licenses for all kinds of investment vehicles available in India, and I'd become sort of proficient in that. And that has still remained one of my passions outside of technology area. I love to read about finance and economics and how the money business works in the world. And so that's if I had not joined computer science. In fact, while I was doing computer science while I was doing undergrad, because my dad was worried about this, I was simultaneously pursuing an accounting degree on the side,
Yeah.
not in the college, and I had gone halfway through that. And then, of course, I came to US, and he was relieved. Okay, you did pick the right career. So, but that was not just him. I think I had a lot of interest in that too.
So what brought you to the US? That's
It
also,
was
again, you've made some big, courageous moves in your life. That's one of the biggest, I assume, right?
Yeah, that was one of the biggest. I came here to do my master's, and funny story is that for variety of reasons, my travel from India to US was delayed, and I came to US. And again, you got to think about back in the 90s, no cell phones, no
Right.
real connections to where, and I didn't not much of an internet either. I land in US in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm 1 week into the semester already. So I was 1 week delayed. I come to from the airport, a friend's place, and he says, today is the last day to register for courses for this semester. You better run to the university and register for courses. And so I immediately went to the university, looked for whatever courses were available at that time, and I signed up for the 3 courses, and it turned out to be the 3 hardest courses in that curriculum at that time. And my first semester was hell because I had no idea how to survive on my own. I was, boy who was, protected by mom and dad at home,
Yeah.
and had
Yeah.
come to US not knowing how to survive on my own, and took these 3 hardest courses in the computer science department. That was tough. And it was learning how to cope in US, learning the language, learning the culture, learning the ways of living in US, and without really any kind of a support system around me. And even no phone, calling India back then was, you pay like $2 per minute or something like that. So not possible. And so it was tough. It was tough, but I learned a lot. And I look back, and it was good I went through that journey.
Yeah. So, and what kept you here? Was it just work, or was it other things that kept you in the US?
I think I truly fell in love with computer science after coming to US. As I mentioned, I was doing an undergrad, but with this sort of, is this the real right career for me, or I'm actually going to go into, finance or something like that. So I was hedging. I was literally had my sort of both options open. But once I came to US, the professors were just incredibly amazing, and I fell in love with computer science. And then, and then I decided to stay here and work for US companies.
So what are your kids doing in school, and are you going to have the same attitude with them that your father, do they have to go into computer science or finance? Or
Not at all. Not at all. I had zero influence on what they chose. So
Yeah.
my daughter, very early from high school, she became fond of just the medicine industry. She started volunteering. So now she's a junior at UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles,
Yeah.
and pursuing what appears to be pre-med. So ultimately, she wants to go become a doctor, although it's a very long journey. So
There is.
we'll see about that. And then my son, after for the longest time saying, I never want to do the job that you're doing because I hate that you're just on computer all the time. When he came to high school, he took some computer science courses and discovered that, wow, this is actually pretty cool. So he's doing computer science at University of Washington here locally.
Oh, that's amazing. Munil, one of the things that you talked about, or that was on your slides in the all hands, is that you are interested in angel investments, right? Can you explain I know a little bit about what that is, but can you explain what that is? Because it's just interesting.
Yeah, so it's the investment part is not the big thing. It's a small amount, but it's mostly getting involved in very early stage startups.
Yep.
Startups that have not gone on to raise money from venture capital, and they look for investors who can also be advisors, and so these are. So that's kind of think of it as a very early stage investment. And so I'm involved in, just a friend of us or just some other colleagues who have put together funds through which we invest in this kind of startups, and often more than investment, like I said, we take an advisory role. And so I am right now involved in advising a couple of companies in their early journey of launching the company and then hopefully turning into something big.
Are there areas that you're particularly focused on, or is it more along just different interests, or is there a particular, does your group have a particular focus?
No, the group that we have formed, it turns out there are people from all walks of life. There are people who are good in real estate. There are people who've run businesses. There are people like me who are technologists. And so we use each other's expertise to then look for opportunities. But the things that I do on a personal time, where I'm advising a company, it's only makes sense if my expertise is valuable to the company. So that typically ends up being something to do with software technology. Yeah.
I'm going to pause. Are there any questions in the chat?
I thought I saw some hand raised and then I see something.
I thought I saw a hand, but I think the hand raised was a mistake. But Emma, are there any questions, or is it they want me to keep going?
I don't see any questions in the chat, so feel free to keep on going. But if anyone has any, pop them in there.
Yeah. So one of the questions that I like to ask is if you are at your 80th birthday party. So this is sort of goes to your values, right? Or who you are. If you are at your 80th birthday party and people are giving toasts and cheers to you, what do you hope that they will say?
I hope they would say, A, I was kind and I was funny. As a colleague, as a friend, as a relative, that's generally what I like I've gone through my 40th and things like that. That's generally what I hear from people, and that's how I would like to be known as. That I was kind to them. And then they enjoyed my company. That I was funny. I was supportive. I was there when they needed my help. Things like that.
Yep. What do you think your teams at Microsoft and UiPath would say about you as a leader?
It's interesting. I just left UiPath, and we had a nice farewell. And it's actually I put up the letter that my CEO wrote for me, and then everybody signed around it. I put it up on LinkedIn, and Jennifer was there. She actually organized the farewell for me. And Jennifer, you can correct me what you heard, but I think it's along those lines. Is that I have a very high bar for myself as well as for the team. I hold very high. I have high standards in terms of what we do, but that doesn't mean that you cannot be kind to the team. The kindness. So it's more of a yin and yang. You know, be bold but be humble at the same time. So it's kind of like that. Have high standards. Expect a lot, but be kind at the same time. Don't be a jerk. Don't be, yeah.
Don't be a jerk is a really good thing to live by, right?
Yeah.
It seems very simple, but it's amazing the number of people that have to be reminded at times. All right, my last question. This is we call this the prison meal question, for lack of a better word. But if it was your last meal, what would it be?
I think I know the answer. So my last meal, and if I'm next to my wife, then she makes this really delicious dish from her village in India.
Yeah.
And that I just love. And I think it would be my choice, A, because she's just incredibly good at making that. B, it's very special. Not many people know how to make it. And it's a very traditional dish. Maybe next time when people are in Seattle, I would love to invite them over for that.
What is it?
Oh, it's called dal bati. So dal is like lentils.
Yes.
And bati is like a form of a bread. And then, it's this, make it in round shape, you bake it, and then you soak it in this lentil, and then with lots of spices, of course, in Indian dish, a lot of spices and flavors, and it just, it bursts in your mouth.
That sounds, I'll take you up on that. I'll come to Seattle for that.
Yeah. Looks like there's a question.
Yeah, someone had a question. Someone said, every career change, this is Lucas, also comes with another more intimate change in ourselves as well. So what change brought you to Talkdesk?
The change comes with another more intimate change in ourselves as well. I think I kind of answered that in a way that like I said, I was looking for in my next phase, given what's happening in the industry, given what I have learned over the years, where do I believe there is a transformative shift happening, where I will come to work every day thinking, what is it that we can do to lead this change, be in the driving seat, not follow, but lead, is kind of what brought me here.
Yeah.
You won't find in dal bati in Indian. That's a very special thing.
You've got us all hungry now.
Yeah.
Munil, thank you. I know how busy you are, and I know you're headed off to Asia next week.
No, a week after.
Okay, the week after. You've already been to Portugal. So grateful for you to spend this time with me and with us. We're all hungry now, and the good news is, it's all great different times. Either people are going to have breakfast, lunch, or dinner, depending on where you are in our in our time zones. But thank you. This was really fun. I really enjoyed spending this time with you. I was lucky enough to already meet you in person once, but this was such a treat. And I look forward to seeing you a year from now. And we're going to talk about all the success.
Awesome. Thank you, guys, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.